Hey y'all, Jill here. Welcome back to the farm. My goodness, it is so good to talk to you guys. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been on the short content train lately because Mama has been juggling all the things, and that's about all I've been able to roll out for you guys. But I have got such an important message that I want to tell all gardeners, and so we're gonna head down to the high tunnel. We're gonna talk about what that is. But I just got done starting the first batch of focaccia. We're gonna go to a river tomorrow with the girls. So you guys are seeing it on Monday. It's Friday when I'm shooting this. So I want to make some focaccia. We've got microgreens going that need to go under the grow light. Nathan's got, looks like some stuff thawed out for dinner. It's been raining on and off all day, which has been nice because we went outside. We harvested cherry tomatoes, scarlet kale, nasturtiums, cucumbers. Also on my list, we are going to be juicing all of these oversized cucumbers. When we went out of town and we came back, we had these big old cucumbers, which aren't bad, but I like to ferment all the really, really small ones, and we'd already made our delivery. So what I'm going to do is juice all of these this weekend and then freeze the juice, because I drink cucumber juice with celery, apples, carrots, ginger, and lemon almost every single day. So I thought, while I have an abundance, if I could pre-juice these and freeze them, and I could pull them out as needed. We're also gonna make some ice cubes, which was Nathan's idea, so it was a great idea. So I had about, gosh, I think when we got back home, we ended up harvesting around 60-70 pounds of cucumbers. So I've sold quite a bit, but fresh eating. So that's on the list of things to do as well. And then something else that we've been doing every single day is harvesting all of the herbs. So we've got sage, yarrow, thyme, echinacea. They're literally in every single window. Remember that DIY drying rack? I love it so much, and Nathan loves me so much, that he did this fun little thing for me because I'm running out of window space. I mean, I've literally been like just taking up every window in the house. So check out what he made me. So this nice, oh, I'm bragging on you.
What are you bragging on me for?
About how you made me this little Z. Let me turn the light on. So we've got statice, yarrow, lavender. Check it out. I told him all my space is taken.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not leave them up as long as I did last year, like dry them and then pull them and store them in a cardboard box so they retain their color better. So
that would be good, because I brush up against them every day, and so when they dry, it's just gonna add to what we have to sweep. So
alright, well, we're gonna head out to the tunnel. I told them I have got a very important message that I think all gardeners need to hear, including you.
okay.
So let's head down there. Y'all, it's nothing bad. It's a good message. Hopefully it's inspiring, encouraging, uplifting, all the things. But it is something that I do believe doesn't get spoke about often enough. So Nathan's getting Spring's head unstuck. We decided not to disspud our goats. The goats that we bought were dispudded. We did one, we kind of waited too late, I felt like, even though people were telling me we didn't. And then I did some research, and I don't know, I just didn't feel like it was necessary. So we decided not to. But she still can fit her head through, but then on the way out, her little horns get stuck. And so probably every day, either me or Nathan, one, are out there maneuvering her horns through the gate, which is a lot of fun. So he was like, I think you need to get rid of her. Are you sure she's the one you want to keep? He's been giving me a hard time about it, but the tunnel's looking great. We are in between really transitioning a lot right now, which is kind of different. Usually all the stuff that we had planted we'll plant early spring will last us pretty much you know, until, I mean, we'll keep doing successions of stuff, but we definitely have a lot of stuff in transition in the greenhouse, mainly because of the crops we were growing in here this year. We're not typically still growing these same crops in the dead of summer. So I'm gonna walk you guys around real quick, show you what's going on, what we're kind of in transition, give you guys a quick little tour, I guess. So I've got a few peppers up here. This one happens to be my favorite right now. This is that jigsaw pepper. It's variegated. It puts on these small little peppers that apparently pack a punch. This is the last of our carrots. I have been harvesting a ton, but once we rip this little section out, I already harvested the rest of the fennel and the radishes. So essentially we'll have almost this, you know, what is this, a 40-foot bed that we'll get to go in and reseed. This is where we had some cucumbers. We ripped those up. I'm going to talk to you guys about that in a second. We've got more peppers over here. Here's our lettuce bed. Our kale is still rocking and rolling. We'll be ripping up the nasturtium soon. And then our tomatoes, we've harvested the first few, but check out all of the clusters on here. We literally have so many tomato clusters. It is, babe, did you see this one down here? Look how massive that cluster is. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
I mean, just everywhere. So fun. We've been getting a ton of our little shakuras. These are our tried and trues that we literally grow every year. They put on these beautiful clusters. And then the new variety we're growing is this, it's called a golden sweet grape. These might actually, those aren't quite ready, but maybe this one is. Babe, I bet this one's good. You want to try it?
Sure.
So there's a really cool pizza place in town that has like the best salads, the best pizzas. And they have this spinach avocado salad with these delicious grape tomatoes, which is why I grew this variety, was to try to mimic this salad. Let me just wipe it off for you real quick.
You're gonna sensually feed it to me?
Oh my gosh. I don't even think I posted that for them. Is it ready? Is it ready? There's still a little green on the shoulders.
It's a little green, but they're still good.
But look, you guys, I mean, so we already have tomatoes all the way to the top. We are about to be swimming.
That's 10 foot.
In tomatoes. So the greenhouse is looking good. I mean, for some reason, I feel like it is emptier than what it usually is in June, but I think it's because we were pushing some of those crops that we usually grow in the fall and the spring and the early summer. So all of our root veggies, you know, fennel, we did a lot of things for the restaurant that we don't typically grow, which means we're having to pull out and replant. So really just kind of incorporating that succession planting more frequently than I guess we usually do.
Yeah, and I think it's just bare because in the last 2 weeks we happen to have harvested
most of our stuff, yeah. But it still looks good. I'm feeling pretty okay with it, especially my tomatoes. I mean, when you just look at all of these clusters and clusters of fruit, it just makes me feel like I'm providing.
Heck yeah. I can't wait for a BLT.
Well, I harvested you 3. So the Lemon Boy, which is what this variety is, I harvested the first 3 ripe tomatoes yesterday and today. So
And I just took out some bacon. I'm throwing out some bacon. So this weekend, some homemade BLTs with maybe some sourdough bread.
Oh, I'm making the sourdough right now, baby. Oh yeah, we're golden. All right, so now we're gonna talk about the subject that Nathan's probably thinking, what? I literally texted him and I was like, hey, you wanna do a vlog with me?
I was downstairs fulfilling orders because I'm behind on your orders. So.
Y'all are so gracious with us. We appreciate you guys so much. But I do firmly believe that this is a message, and I wanted to bring Nathan because he's one that challenges me, right? I can say something and he's like, I might disagree with that. And so when I do feel like this is a message I want to tell you, I think it's a message all gardeners need to hear, but I also was curious what Nathan's response to this
Don't
message
you just
was.
love how she puts me on the spot here?
I was literally working. And I was thinking through some of the content I put out this week and some of the responses to that content, which prompted me to have this idea and just be like, man, we really need to speak to this. And so behind me, I've got my Katrina cucumbers. If you guys have been following me for even 2 seconds, you know it is my favorite hybrid cucumber to grow. We do 2 successions of these each summer. They are so prolific. We do them on an umbrella trellising method. If you're curious what that is, you can check it out right here. And they climb all the way to the top on this jute twine. We hard prune, we, do all the things. And then they will umbrella over the pipe and come all the way back down. They're beautiful. We've grown them for a few years now. They've done great. They're just exceptional little cucumbers. Well, each year I allow myself 1 to 2 new varieties. And when I was a beginner gardener, I grew all the varieties, particularly all the heirlooms. I remember the first year that I grew tomatoes to sell, I had like 60 or 70 different varieties of heirloom tomatoes. It was a hot mess, right? Because each one kind of needed their own thing. Some grew in big massive clusters and others didn't, and so I realized real quickly I needed to refine what I grew. And so I wanted to give myself room to experiment. I wanted to experience different flavors and textures and depths to food. So I tell myself, all right, Joe, you can grow 2 new varieties of something each year. So this year I wanted to explore a different variety of cucumbers, which the restaurant we're partnered with also requested. And so it was the Itachi cucumber. It was a hybrid. It was this fun, long, white cucumber, kind of spiky, but not really seedy. It was bold, it was vibrant. It tasted really,
Yeah, it was
really good.
Very citrusy.
Very citrusy. It was an Asian cucumber, and so a lot of people don't eat it like they would in like a salad. They eat it in like stir fries and different Asian dishes, which I thought was really interesting. But what happened is, when I grew these cucumbers, they started putting off these tendrils that were like, it was crazy. I've never seen a cucumber go this crazy with all the different tendrils. They were latching on to all my other cucumbers. I couldn't really prune effectively. They were just prolific. They were super prolific. I mean, I was harvesting literally crates and crates full of these cucumbers. But what happened is I couldn't prune effectively, so it was causing a lot of disease in my plants, particularly these plants on this side. It was suffocating them out. And I had the worst case of aphids I've ever had in this greenhouse since we've lived on this property. That is something that we're just choosing those right varieties that are pest and disease resistant, so we don't really deal with a lot of that. And then when you couple that with appropriate pruning techniques, you're really just kind of setting yourself up for success. And so I went here and I weighed my options, right? Because it's a beautiful cucumber. It's so abundant. I could treat the other plants, right? But then I am kind of gambling that these aphids are going to then spread to my tomatoes. They're going to come and then spread this disease all about my greenhouse. And so I made this executive decision to rip all of these out. These perfectly fine plants that were still producing. And when I posted about this on our other social media platforms, I got quite a bit of pushback on, why would you do this? I thought you'd already promised this to a chef, to a restaurant. They're still producing. Why did you just rip out these perfectly good plants?
Why did you do that?
So here comes the message that I think every gardener needs to hear. Sometimes you're going to grow a crop. Maybe you just don't enjoy it. These were actually delightful. But maybe you just don't enjoy it. You don't have to keep that in your garden. Rip it out. You can easily replace that with something else. That's the beauty of succession planting, right? You can get multiple successions, even dependent on what zone you're in. There are those fast turnaround crops that you can still get in. And even though they were super prolific, I could have sold a bunch and made a high dollar amount on these cucumbers. It wasn't worth it because of all of the other issues they were bringing into our garden. Because guess what? When I have aphids and I have pests and I have disease, that is going to just deplete the soil. It's going to negatively affect my plants. They might still produce, but they're not going to produce at the quality that they would have had they been healthy plants, had they not have aphids on them, had they not had any sort of other disease affecting them as well. So my point being, don't be afraid to rip something up. This is not this commitment contract thing when it comes to gardening. You can grow something and you can hate it. You can grow something and love it, and it just doesn't make sense for you to grow it. It doesn't mean you have to keep it in your gardens all season long. I ripped it out, and some people thought I was crazy, but I know my plants. I know what they should look like at this time of year, and I know that they don't look that way, and it was a direct effect of something else that I did. And so how I fix this is I rip it all out, I start another round, I plant a new succession of something that I have already tested and trialed for the last 2 years. I know how it performs, I know how it grows, and I say, hey, although that cucumber might have tasted well, I'm not ever going to grow it again because of all of the other negative impacts. That could be my climate. It could be because I'm growing it in a high tunnel. Some of you guys might have a great experience and not deal with that. But whether you're growing lettuce, peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, it doesn't matter what it is. If you start noticing that it's not just one plant that's dealing with the pest or disease, but it's that entire crop, and it's then you have that risk of it interfering and messing up other crops that you have within your gardening space, rip them up, burn them. If it's diseased plant, don't throw it in your compost. That's going to leach and contaminate your soil and your compost, which you certainly don't want if you're putting that back into your gardens. But I just don't feel like enough people are saying, hey, it's okay to rip up that crop. Hey, it's okay that it's still producing and you just don't like it, so you're not keeping it. Because for me, that is time and energy you could be putting into something that you do love, that does produce you food, that does produce you joy. And the list of that goes on and on.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to that. I think that is a great point. Something that I would consider is I would consider growing it again because I really liked it, especially if that restaurant is asking for it. However, we would do it different. I think we planted too close. We didn't realize how prolific these were. We didn't realize how they were going to spread. And so, you know, potentially in the future, we don't plant them in the same bed as these cucumbers. We give them their own space. We space them more than a foot because we plant our cucumbers pretty tight. Because we, you know, so if you, let's say you gave them 2 feet, you gave them their own bed, you know, that potentially would allow more airflow, potentially, you know, keep those disease and pest out. My thoughts.
They're good thoughts, you're right. So this brings another point. If you want to be a successful gardener at any scale, you have to pay attention, you have to take notes, and you have to be willing to pivot. Your entire gardening journey is going to be pivoting. You're going to grow something that you don't like. You're going to grow something that just doesn't thrive well in your climate and your environment. You're going to have to constantly be switching. I mean, maybe you have found those tried and trues and you're just content with only growing this, this, and this. I like to switch it up a little. I mean, I have my tried and trues, but I do like variety. And because we are growing for other people, they certainly like that variety. And so I am with Nathan in the aspect of instead of doing 2 rows, we could do 1 row and we could only grow that thing. We could space it apart. And so you do have to record keep. You have to know I am a huge proponent and advocate for taking notes, because what if I grew this and it was 4 years down the road before I thought of trialing it comes in, and I don't have records and I don't remember all these different traits about this. And so I do encourage you guys, I'm working on a fun project right now, I'll be able to tell you soon, that will hopefully help you with your record keeping and all of that stuff. But it is so important to take notes, know what does well in your climate, and don't feel like a failure. I ripped those out and I didn't think twice about it. Never once did I think, man, I wish I knew what I was doing, or man, I wonder why this didn't work out. The moral of the story is they were planted too close together. It was a variety that didn't really thrive in our hot, humid climate. It got a lot of pests. It got a lot of disease. Don't sweat it, you guys. You're not every crop you put in the ground are you going to hit a home run on. And that's okay, you don't have to, because I learned something, right? I learned how I would plant it differently. I learned that actually I personally probably wouldn't plant it again. I'll find another variety or just stick with what I know does well. I can max out that bed space that we have more efficiently by growing this variety versus that variety. Yeah. And so these are things that you just have to think through and talk about. But I hear a lot of people say, man, I just can't grow a garden, or man, I tried this and it didn't work out. be okay with that. Don't think negatively of yourself. You are growing as a gardener. You're growing as someone who is learning the art of growing your own food. It is an art. I feel like there's a lot that goes into that. But just know you can rip up a crop and it's not the end of the world. You can have all your tomatoes, have disease or blight or blossom end rot, and you can learn from that. You can do something different, and I guarantee you the next year you will have better tomatoes than you had the year before. I don't know. I was just working on a project. It really had me thinking, mainly because I was replaying some of the comments I got on my Instagram story in my mind, and no one was rude by any means, but they were just like, I don't understand why you would do this. And for me, it's like, I don't understand why you would leave it in. Like if it's creating, I'm now having to do a second succession months earlier than I usually would because of a decision that I made that didn't turn out correctly. Yeah. And so I'm taking notes of this, but I just want to encourage you guys, your garden's not going to be 100% all the time. And that's okay. It's going to be, the weather's going to change. What you have, your own commitments are going to change. And so I just really wanted to encourage someone with that. Rip the plant out, start over, don't sweat it. It's going to be just fine. We are just taking notes of this, and it's making us better. This year we're adding in a lot of variety that we haven't added in several years. And so we are kind of having to be on our toes a bit more. We're having more pests, I feel like, than we have in years past, and so we're having to be really proactive with that. We're taking a lot of those detailed notes. We use a planting calendar called Seed Time, and it's where we pretty much lay out our entire successions on this calendar. I actually did a free webinar with them, and I'll have the link down below, but we go in and we put our zone and what we want, and it calculates our successions. We're also able to go back in and note take, and we can take pictures, which I'll be honest, I don't have the time to go in and take photos and be that specific, but I did go in there and jot down the issues that I had with it. That way I could go back and reference that, and I do think that that is really important, just to set yourself up for success down the road. So I don't know, I just wanted to encourage our people.
Girl, you got me encouraged.
When you talk to so many people, when you're a gardener, you get this. When you're a gardener, that's all you talk about with people is your garden, right? And I've talked to so many people who are like, man, my garden's just not doing great, or I had this that didn't do great, I don't know what I'm doing. One, you have to speak life into yourself and to your surroundings. And so you do know what you're doing. You 1000% know what you're doing. And you may know one small step, but that one small step is going to lead you to know that next small step and that next small step. And next thing you know, you're going to be the person teaching someone else. And so I encourage you guys, speak kindly to yourselves and about your gardens, and speak abundance over yourself and your gardens. And if one thing fails, doesn't mean you're a failure. If you have to, we've ripped up so many crops in here, I feel like, and that doesn't define me as a gardener. That means that I'm actually a smart gardener because I'm pivoting. And once you can pivot, you kind of have the key to success right there. You can just keep pivoting until you figure out what works.
Yep, a failure is just a lesson learned. So
I know, I wrote something the other day. Failure, what did I say? It was so good that I forgot it. I think I said failure is just a stepping stone to success.
Yep.
And that is really how I view it. I've been growing food for a really, really long time. And each year I learn a little nugget that propels me further as a grower. And it puts something else in my tool belt that lets me inspire, teach, and educate someone else. And you're going to be the same way. And I will say, I think our garden, our high tunnel looks beautiful right now. It looks different than it did this time last year, but I'm still proud of it. I'm still providing food for our family, for our community.
We're definitely cranking out the food.
And it feels really good. So y'all be encouraged by that.
Good job, babe. I really had no idea what she was about to talk about. I was scared, to be honest with you.
What do you think I was going to talk about?
I had no idea.
Listen up, y'all. I know. I feel like that's the trajectory of some of the videos we're seeing right now, right? It's like, you're not going to find that from our channel. Peace and love. That's all you're going to find from us. But thank you all for hanging out with us. I have missed doing these vlogs. I have been putting out shorts because that is what I've had the time for in this season. Like I mentioned, I'll be telling you guys about this fun project soon, and it'll all make a lot of sense to you guys. But I am going to prioritize bringing the camera out here and doing this. I can see a garden tour in my near future.
Bring it.
But thank you all for hanging out with us. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys. Happy Father's Day, everyone.
Oh yeah, happy Father's Day.